this video, we're going to create a dynamic lookup in Google Sheets in a scenario where the data that we want to look up and the results for those lookup values are not directly adjacent to one another. So what you see here is a preview of what we're going to create today. I have my data set over here. My lookup column is column A. We have branch locations. And then my results columns are B and C. And you can see that the results are not directly adjacent to the lookup values. They're 2 rows down and 1 and 2 columns across from our lookup values. And you may find yourself in this situation occasionally. You just might have an oddly structured data set and you don't want to have to alter your original data, but you still want to perform a dynamic lookup. So you can see here I've created this. If I select this branch number, it's going to dynamically pull back the results even though the result columns are not directly one column over horizontally or 1 row down vertically. So we're going to have to create something using the offset function and a combination of some other functions, because in this type of scenario you can't use a VLOOKUP or an XLOOKUP or index and match. So the first thing I want to show you is how the offset function works by itself. So we take the first input, which is a range reference, needs to be a single cell. So think of this as the starting point. So if we wanted to start at cell A10 and we want to go down 2 rows and to the right 1 column, the next input is our rows. So we go down 2. Third input is our column. The final 2 inputs are optional, so we won't do anything with that for now. So you can see that returns 2 rows down, 1 column across based on our starting point, which was right here. Now, the default values for these next 2 inputs are 1 on both, so that is just how many rows we want to pull. We just want 1, but if we wanted to pull 2 columns across, you can see it pulls both of these values here. And this works, but we want something dynamic that returns these values based on a lookup. And right now we have to manually input the begin point. So what we need to use here is something that returns the cell address of our lookup value. So that is where the address function comes in. So this takes a row number input and a column number input and returns the address of that intersection. So if we put in row 10, column 1, that's going to return the cell reference of that intersection. But again, we need something dynamic that gets us where our lookup value is found row-wise. So what we're going to use is the match function. This takes a lookup value, so we'll use this cell here for branch 2. Our lookup array is going to be the column where our lookup values are found. And we want an exact match, so we're going to input 0 there. So that returns 7 because branch 2 is found on row 7 in column A. So now what we're going to do is nest this within the address function. We already have our row input. That is what we just did with the match. We know our lookup is always going to be in column A, so we just simply input a 1 there. So this dynamically gets us the address of our lookup value. But this is a string. We need this as a cell reference. So we're going to use the indirect function. And this is going to be like the equivalent of hitting that address. So it's like hitting A13 equals A13, I should say. So now all we need to do is nest this within the offset, because we dynamically have our begin point now. So we have our first argument. We know we want to go down 2 rows from our begin point and 1 column across. We also want the height to be 1, and we want to pull back 2 columns to the right. So now we have this dynamic lookup. Well, that is all for now. Thanks for watching.